the story behind ABBA's breakthrough album from 1975. That's next with author Joe Matera.
We're totally booked.
Rock and roll!
Well, I think I'll leave you to your reading.
Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll.
Rock and roller!
We are totally booked.
Welcome back to Booked on Rock, the podcast for those about to read and rock. Excited to have this author back on the show. He's not just an author, he is a musician as well. Joe Matera. He's released a brand new book, The Making of ABBA, the story behind the band's 1975 breakthrough album. Joe, welcome back. Great to see you again.
You too, Eric. Nice to be back. Thank you for inviting me.
Oh, it's always great to have you on. And I got to tell you, the last time you were on, I had you, which was it Louder Than Words I had you on for?
Yes,
your book?
the Louder Than Words book. That's correct. A couple of years ago, I think it was. Yeah.
You turned me on to the Bryan Adams album that I had overlooked, that so many overlook.
Into the Fire.
Into the Fire.
That's right.
I overlooked that album like so many because it didn't have like the huge hit single on there. And to this day, I listen to it on a regular basis because of what you suggested to me during that interview. So I thought I'd let you know that.
Oh, thank you. I'm glad. I mean, I always write about, things I really love and passionate about, and being a musician, I listen to things in I suppose, with different ears. And so I just try and express that in my writing. And, if people like yourself, if you pick up the album again and rediscover and go, wow, I really, never thought this was this good. So that means my job's done. So, I mean, that album is such an underrated album, and I do state in my book that, Native Son, the solo that Keith Scott does on it, is probably one of the greatest guitar solos, in my opinion, of all time. Now,
I remember you said that.
People say, Stairway to Heaven and Free Bird, and yes, they are great solos, but I think Keith is very underrated as a guitar player.
Yes. Heat of the Night, Into the Fire, Native Son, Only the Strong Survive, Remembrance Day is one that I constantly play. Hearts on Fire, those are the highlights. There you go.
Yeah, absolutely. Great album.
That's
very
the power of an author, right? You can turn people on.
I'm good to hear that.
Which leads me to what I'm about to tell you now about this book, okay? Because it's ABBA, and I'm sure there are people that are listening and watching saying, ABBA, is this rock and roll, right? And you have given me a whole new appreciation for this group. You said you have gotten that feedback from people.
Yes, I have. Absolutely. It's the same thing. People who've read the book so far have rediscovered this album and realised the gold that's in it, the musical gold. I mean, ABBA were just absolutely fantastic as musicians themselves. I mean, the thing about the perception of ABBA is a lot of people think they were just like this group that were brought together and had all these hits. But you go back into history, they all were individually successful before they became a group. Benny Andersson was the keyboard player in the Hep Stars, which was one of the biggest bands in Sweden, more popular than the Beatles at that time in the 60s, So, and then you had Bjorn Avaris, who was, Bjorn Avaris, I've gone blanky, who was part of the Hootenanny Singers, a folk rock group in Sweden. So they were very, very successful, and same as the girls, they were successful in their own right. So, but this album, the 1975 album, the third album, which has Mamma Mia, SOS, I Do, all those songs, they are just absolutely gold.
They are. And you say that without this album, you wouldn't have that next album, Arrival, which is the biggest selling album by the group, but it may not have reached the commercial heights it achieved if not for this one.
That's right. So this one, being the third album, I mean, on their first two albums, ABBA was sort of still trying to find their sound. You could hear it, but they were sort of still experimenting. This third album was where it really, they etched it into stone. They found their voice. They found the template for what came afterwards. So it really set things up for Arrival, which is interesting. They call it Arrival because they had arrived by then. But this album was also the one that broke them through internationally because, for example, in Australia, we had ABBA Mania here. I mean, because of this album, Mamma Mia was on the charts for like 14 weeks at number one. You had SOS at number one. It was just, a whole year. The album was on the charts for like 65 weeks in Australia. And then because of the success in Australia, they released, in England, they opened up and they had hits there. Bohemian Rhapsody was number one at the end of 1975 and they got knocked off by ABBA's Mamma Mia. So they just started going everywhere. And then in 1976, after this album had been released, they released the single Dancing Queen, which appeared on the next album, and they gave them their very first American #1 hit. So it was really, this album really set things up for the whole band.
This is not only the first ever book dedicated to this album, it's the first ever book dedicated to an individual ABBA album, period.
That's right. Yes, there's been, there's so many ABBA books out there, and I think there's also one that sort of goes through all the sort of songs and the albums, but nothing in as forensic as mine. And also, what's unique about my book is it comes from the perspective of a musician. So I described the making of the album. I spoke to all the remaining musicians who played on that album. Bjorn also kindly answered some questions for me about that album. So, it's got a lot of input from stuff that from the people involved, and also information that even ABBA fans have said to me they never knew, that I dug up. So it was a really great journey to sort of put this whole book together.
Yeah, and you approach it from a musician standpoint as well, which makes it very interesting for somebody like myself who loves to get into the nuts and bolts of how these songs come together. When ABBA was inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame in 2010, there were those who question it, but I wonder what people are thinking about ABBA now in recent years. Have the opinions changed? Because like on this album, Hey, Hey, Helen, Rock Me, So Long, those are rockers.
Oh, absolutely. I think, when they had the resurgence in the 90s and ever since then, there's a new generation of, fans who, weren't even born, who have now rediscovered ABBA. And look, they do belong in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame because, their music is at the core of it. It is rock and roll. It is, it's pop music, but it's still rock and roll. Like you mentioned, Rock Me, Hey Hey Helen. Those are rockers on those albums, And then later on, even though the synth and the piano was very much a dominant part of their sound, ABBA, and the influence. I talk about that in my book about heavy metal bands, hard rock bands, punk bands, all now acknowledge the influence of ABBA onto their music. One of the most surprising things that will surprise people is the Sex Pistols were massive fans of ABBA. Now, back in the day, they would have never admitted that, and there's old interviews where Johnny Rotten has stated that, ABBA were crap. But now, years later, Steve Jones, Glenn Matlock, they all acknowledged how they were fans of ABBA and they were listening. Glenn Matlock wrote Pretty Vacant after listening to SOS. He said he was inspired by listening to SOS, And Sid Vicious, massive fan of ABBA. There's a whole story of the Sex Pistols going to Scandinavia for a tour, and ABBA were at the airport and they happened to see ABBA, and Sid Vicious saw them and ran across and goes, ABBA, ABBA, I love ABBA, And ABBA looked at him and they go, what's going on here? And all the securities came in and separated them, but that's how much love they had for him. So you would never, admit that back in the day if you're a punk rocker, but now they do.
How about that? Let's get into a little bit more about where the group was at heading into this album. They released Ring Ring in 73, Waterloo in 74. There's a diverse range of styles on this album. And you say the reason is because they were still struggling to find their identity at this point. So they're looking to find out which direction they're going to go. They're going to see what sticks and what doesn't.
That's right. Yeah. On the first two albums, very much so. On this one, the amount of styles on this is just fantastic in the sense that no matter what they put their hand to, they really made it, ABBA-ized it, I called it in the book. Really their sound, you can hear the sound of ABBA. Some other band might say do a jazz number or something, and it wouldn't probably sound like them, sort of thing. But ABBA really made it sounding like ABBA. So there's a diverse range of styles, which is also really interesting because of the different styles of music, they attracted a wide range of an audience. Everybody from the age of 6 to 86 loved ABBA. My grandmother loved ABBA when this album came out. I loved it as a 10-year-old. My older friends and sisters loved it too. So it's it really a wide range.
Interesting technique employed regarding the vocals. Engineer Michael Tretow, I think is the pronunciation.
Yes, Michael B. Tretow. Yeah.
Okay, very creative. He comes up with some great ideas. Can you talk about how he alters the speed of each vocal track and why he does that?
Okay, so Michael was very integral to the sound of ABBA. You could say he was like the fifth silent member of ABBA, because what he did in the studio was just incredible. One of the things was he would use a technique called vari-speed. Now, what that is on the old tape machines, you could slow down the tape. Like he would only slow it down, like say for maybe like 0.5%, and he would record one track of vocals, and then he will basically get it back up, back to speed, and that would be at the sort of just slightly, a bit higher. And then he would record another track of vocals and do the same thing, and then they maybe change it to a different speed. So what you have is a layer of vocals which sound like a choir, which is absolutely fantastic. I mean, he was very much inspired by the Phil Spector's Wall of Sound. I mean, he really was inspired by that, and he took it to the next level. So that was really integral. I mean, even the guitars on ABBA, if you listen to the album on headphones, you will hear the layering of the guitars. You'll hear one guitar on the left-hand side, one on the right-hand side, and then the layering of the vocals, and then even the keyboards. I mean, there's multi-layered keyboards, which gives you this massive sound, but it all had to do with with just slightly moving the tape a bit, which allowed that little space to sort of shine. Because if you did it all at the same sort of frequency, it would sort of get a bit muddy. But by doing it that way, it really, really breathed into the music.
Some amazing production. 11 tracks on the album, 7 released as singles. 3 of them hits. SOS, I Do, I Do, I Do, I Do, I Do, and Mamma Mia. The other 4 singles are So Long, I've Been Waiting for You, Bang a Boomerang, and Rock Me. Mamma Mia is the opening track on this album. You write, quote, "For those who like delving deeper into a song's sonics, Mamma Mia is home to a fascinating tidbit. This is more of the stuff I love. Tell us about the echo chambers and its effect on the song's reverb," which you have to listen to it in headphones to really.
That's right, yeah. On Mamma Mia, if you listen very carefully, so you put your headphones on, and this, you can't really hear it when you listen just to like on the normal, say, stereo, whatever. You need to put your headphones on. And you listen very carefully on the left-hand side, the vocals, you can hear this long sort of just delay sound on the vocal, which is amazing, which gives it this air again. I mean, it was all part of the studio sound. I mean, they were very particular in the way that they recorded things. I mean, back then, I mean, the technology wasn't what we have today, which, you can sort of bring up a plug-in and give you reverb. But back then, you had to really sort of use your ingenious, I suppose, ideas to come up with things. And they used it, in the room, the way the room was set up, just as, in the studio, and put the mic, how the mic was mic'd to the vocals. You can really hear it. I mean, you've got to listen very carefully, and you'll hear that in the verse, how the delay of the echo just happens.
Yeah, pop the headphones on or the earbuds, you'll hear it. Mamma Mia ended Queen's 9-week run at the top of the UK chart. Bohemian Rhapsody knocked that off in January of 76. I have to believe Freddie Mercury was a fan of ABBA.
Yeah, I would say so. I mean, look, a lot of, like I said to you, a lot of bands have come out forward now and said that they were fans of ABBA, and Freddie was too. I mean, if you listen to Bohemian Rhapsody, I mean, you can hear that sort of technique happening. I mean, even 10cc, I'm Not in Love, they use that sort of vocal sort of technique too. But ABBA was sort of, use it in such a unique way. I mean, don't get me wrong, Queen did their vocals in a unique way too, but it's just individual touch to it. I mean, it's just really incredible. I mean, this is 50 years ago. I mean, the technology, again, wasn't what we've got today. Absolutely.
Second track, Hey, Hey, Helen, regarded as filler, and I'm so glad that you disagree. I really like this song, and I'm a fan of all of the songs on this album that have that rock edge to it, and this is one of them. Talk about why you're a fan of the song, and you make a comparison to Judas Priest's Living After Midnight on this
That's
song.
Right, yeah, because if you listen to it, I mean, Hey Hey Ellen, I really love that. I mean, it's a rocker. It's. I mean, you listen to the drum beat, and the guitars. It does remind you of Judas Priest, And so I would say that Judas Priest probably listened to the album too. So, but Hey Hey Helen, it's a great rocker. I think it's very underrated as a track. I mean, a lot of people have said, it was just a bit of a filler, but nothing on this album is a filler as far as I'm concerned. I think every single track is single material. I mean, you mentioned that I write about 7 singles released. Now, ABBA were the first band to release 7 singles from one album, compared before Michael Jackson did it.
And Def Leppard with Hysteria.
That's right. Yes,
the 7 single formula. They wanted
that's
to
right.
do 7
yes, absolutely.
singles.
So, and look, and the whole album, every track was actually released as a single somewhere around the world. So that's incredible. I mean, if say one single wasn't released in the US, it was released somewhere else, say in Poland or whatever. So it was incredible to have every single song on that album released as a single somewhere.
Hey guys, thanks so much for checking out the Booked on Rock podcast. If you've just found the podcast, welcome. If you've been listening, thank you so much for your support. And make sure you tell a friend, a family member, share on social media, and let people know about Booked on Rock. And if you do like the podcast, make sure you subscribe, give a 5-star review wherever you listen to the Booked on Rock podcast. We're on Amazon, Apple, iHeart, Spotify, Spreaker, TuneIn, and on YouTube Music. You can check out the full episodes on video, along with video highlights from episodes on the Booked on Rock YouTube channel. Find it at Booked on Rock. Thanks again for listening. Now back to the show. Well, let's get into the lineup on this album. Who do we have?
Basically, they had a core lineup of musicians. Basically, they had the main guitar players. Well, one of the main guitar players was Jan Schaffer. Now, Jan Schaffer played on every album of theirs, and Jan's probably better known in the US as he did an album called E-Mill back in, I think it was about 78, 77, and they had the first sort of lineup where all the boys from Toto played on it, so he sort of has a connection with that. But Jan is the most recorded guitar player in Sweden. He's the equivalent to Steve Lukather in the US. He's played on all the Swedish hits over the last 40, 50 years, so Jan was one of the core guitar players.
Played with Bob Marley, it says here.
Yeah, yes, he played Bob. That's right, Bob Marley. He's also played with Jimmy Cliff. He played his early band in the late 60s. What's fascinating was they supported Pink Floyd in Sweden in the late 60s, you know.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's some great stories there about Jan Schaffer. I mean, I've actually done a story on Jan for Guitar Player magazine probably a couple of years ago. If people look it up online, you'll be able to read the whole sort of story behind Jan. But they did have a cool group of musicians where they would just call them in. I mean, they weren't sort of how can I say, they were free to sort of still record with other bands, but when ABBA were in the studio, because ABBA had to record this album in sort of different spurts, you could say, because Bjorn and Benny were part of the Polar Records in-house production team, so they were working on other artists too at the same time, so they had to find time when the studio wasn't being used to do their stuff on ABBA, which is why it took like this album started in August 1974 and it was finished in March 1975, so you know it's roughly 9 months. So they had to do, and they worked from like 9 to 5. They would do like 3 hours, have a break, have lunch, do another 3 hours, and then the studio musicians would go home, and then Benny and Bjorn would stay back with Michael and start working on the track. You know, and the music was all once they had all the music down, it was all backing track. There was no lyrics. There was only like dummy lyrics where, you know, Bjorn might be saying something like la 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 la, and that was it. So once the music was all done, which is fascinating, Bjorn would take it home and start writing lyrics. You know, and so it's fascinating how they operated in that sense.
Okay, yeah. So we got Jan, 2 more guitarists, right? Finn.
Yeah, Finn's another one.
How do you pronounce it? Sjöberg?
Yeah, Sjöberg. That's right. It's hard to pronounce some of these Swedish names, so that's why I'm sticking to the
first name.
The first name, yeah. The other one was Lasse, who was also later on used a lot more on Arrival. Then the bass player was Rutger, as well as Mike Watson, who played on SOS. Was it, if I remember now, Mamma Mia. Then there was the drummer, which was Roger, as well as
Ola Brunkert.
That's right, yeah.
Okay. Roger Palm and Ola Brunkert. Okay. Yeah.
That's right, yes. And so they were the core musicians. They would just come together in the studio, and Benny would be on the piano, Bjorn would be on his acoustic guitar, and they would just jam out and just come up with ideas. And when they hear something, they go, right, this is it, and they would get it spot on. They would basically not be happy with a song unless it was 100% how they wanted. I mean, nothing on their albums is subpar. I mean, basically 95% of the music they recorded, they would basically throw out and redo it again because they were so particular about wanting the music to be perfect, which is why it's timeless. You know, it was really crafted so well.
And then the famous lineup, you have
Agneta, Frida, yes.
Yeah, is it Annie Fred? How do you pronounce?
Oh, Anna Fred.
Anna
yes,
Fred,
we
right.
say we just call her by Frida. We just
Frida,
say
because that's what I know it as, because she did that great album, the solo album with Phil Collins on drums.
That's right. Yeah, great album, by the way. Absolutely,
Yeah.
rocking album.
Bjorn and Benny Anderson.
That's
Bjorn
right. Yeah.
Ulvaeus.
Ulvaeus, that's right. Yes, it's the thing about Swedish language. It's so hard to pronounce in English a lot of times. So I just try and stick to the first names. It's easier,
Right? Yeah. So we kind of lay the groundwork there. These are the musicians who are putting this all together. So, okay. We talked about Mamma Mia. We talked about Hey, Hey, Helen. Track 3, Tropic Loveland. You note the sonic arrangement of the song being interesting in terms of the synthesizer parts here.
Absolutely. Yeah, how we sort of layer it. Like you have one synthesizer part on the left speaker, one on the right speaker, and then had the blending of them together and the develop again that wall of sound. It's just really incredible. I mean, they put a lot of thought into how they arranged stuff, and how they produced it. They just sort of just go in there and just started playing around. They really thought things out, which was just incredible. The way their approach to it.
One of the rockers that we didn't mention who is a fan, Pete Townsend. He says this next track is, quote, the best pop song ever written, and he's talking about SOS. And you say that it is textbook on how to write the perfect pop song. And you come at this from a musician standpoint. Talk about why this is a masterclass in the craft of songwriting.
Absolutely. I agree with Pete Townsend 100% because it's a mastercraft in songwriting. I think every musician should listen to the song because they could learn something from it. First of all, it's got melody. It's got the arrangement is just brilliant. The layering of parts, again, the vocal sound, the guitar sounds, there's a little lead part, the harmony parts. I mean, there's so much stuff to this song. I mean, and it's catchy. I mean, no matter what. I mean, and the blending of the melancholy with the joyfulness. I mean, it goes from the verse, which is sort of sad, and it gets into the chorus, which is uplifting. So it's got everything that you need in a pop song. It's just brilliant.
It's amazing. And the success of the single, this is what you have in the book here, reached number 6 on the UK chart, kicked off a run of 18 consecutive top 10 UK singles for the group. In Australia, it was their 3rd consecutive number 1. The song is also the honor of being the only song to chart on the US, Australian, and UK charts, where both the song's title and group name are palindromes. They spell the same thing forwards and backwards.
That's right. Absolutely. Yeah. That's one of the sort of tidbits that I'll throw in there.
That's cool. Track 5, Man in the Middle. Very typical of the time, you say, specifically the mid-70s American detective drama TV shows.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, you listen to the clarinet on it, it very much mid-70s sort of sound. I mean, things like Rockford Files and, Starsky and Hutch, that sort of stuff. So it's very much off its time. But again, a brilliant track, Man in the Middle. It's just absolutely really, really cool.
The last track on side 1, Bang a Boomerang, instantly infectious. This song went through several changes during the writing process. Can you talk about that?
That's right. Yes. It was actually first given to Sven and Lotte, who were sort of Eurovision sort of artists too. They were sort of Polar Records artists, and they used that. But then ABBA reused the same backing track because they play on it. It's their song, and they put the girls' vocals on it, and again, it was just a hit for them. I mean, Australia did really well here. It's it's very much sort of, you can hear it a little bit like the Eurovision stuff, but again, it's just a brilliant pop song, very catchy, and the way they utilize the production again on that is just brilliant.
Hey guys, we'll get back to the show, but first I want to tell you about an exclusive deal for Booked on Rock listeners. Get 15% off any purchase at oldglory.com. Over 300,000 officially licensed items covering music, sports, entertainment, and pop culture. Merchandise featuring legendary music artists like Bob Marley, The Beatles, Grateful Dead, Pink Floyd, Led Zeppelin, and many, many more. Go to oldglory.com. Make sure to use the promo code BookedOnRock. Also find a link in this episode's show notes, or just go to bookedonrock.com and click on My Deals. Joe Matera is the author of The Making of ABBA, the story behind the band's 1975 breakthrough album. We go to side 2 and the opening track, I Do, I Do, I Do, I Do, I Do. And you write about the saxophone playing, an ascending phrase of triplets, which gives the song a nostalgic feel. So we're going to go back to your musical expertise here. Explain what a triplet is and how that influences the nostalgic feel to this song.
Okay, triplet is when you play three notes in the beat of one. Rather than going like one and two, you go one and a. So it sort of gives that sort of skipping feel, right? And I do. It's the nostalgic feel is very much like the 50s. If you listen to it, it's almost like that old school Hollywood sort of feel to it. And the other thing about the saxophone is ABBA on this song. Really, I really believe they set the trend for what followed later in regards to Al Stewart then used it on Year of the Cat. Baker Street used the sax, Jerry Rafferty. So, I mean, I don't remember anything before hearing ABBA where the sax was pretty much predominant in a pop song, really. So I would say that they were the first in that sense.
The next one, Rock Me. A T-Rex vibe on this one, right?
Oh, absolutely. You can hear it rock, and look, it's simple lyrics, it's almost like a nursery rhyme, which is why you remember it, but again, very, very T-Rexy, very glam rock, something that I would say Twisted Sister would have listened to in regards to, if you listen to their Twisted Sister songs, you can hear sort of that nursery rhyme sort of melody to it, so I would say Dee Snider listened to ABBA too.
Sure. But you say that the back to basics exterior deceptively masks its complex musical elements.
Yeah, it is. I mean, if you stripped everything from ABBA and you get to the core of it, it's just very simple melodies, very, very basic. But then when you add in all these other elements to it and what they did with the instruments, the way they recorded it, the voices, how they sit, it becomes complex, it really becomes complex. And you go, wow, how could you come up with this?
A rarity in the ABBA catalog is next, side 2, track 3, intermezzo number 1. Talk about this one and the star of the song, Benny Anderson, a nod to his classical musical influences here.
Very close. I mean, it's very prog rockish this. If you like bands like Emerson, Lake and Palmer, Yes, early Yes, I mean, it's very much, it's instrumental, the only instrumental ever recorded. I mean, they did do another instrumental on the next album, but it's got sort of some vocals sort of in the harmony sort of stuff. But this one here, it's all Benny. It's a showcase on his piano playing. Absolutely brilliant musician. I mean, very much classically inspired because Benny comes from the school of classical music. I mean, throughout the whole album and throughout all the catalogue of ABBA, if you listen to his piano playing, it's very much classical elements. And he was able to take those classical elements and put them into pop music. And it's absolutely just a masterclass in how to do a brilliant instrumental.
We haven't talked enough about the group's vocals, so this is a good excuse to do so on the track I've Been Waiting for You. This is a great example. Agneta's vocals here, amazing. We also get the harmonies with Frida's high-pitched vocals. Is this the best example of the multi-layered vocal sound of ABBA, would you say?
Yeah, I would say this is a good example. I mean, I think all of them, I mean, Mamma Mia's too, but this one here, because you actually hear it a lot more. And yes, I mean, Agneta was a soprano and Frida was a mezzo-soprano. So their voices were sort of like, one was higher, one was slightly lower. And when you blend them together, they were just a perfect match. I mean, it's very rare to get two singers who blended in so well as those two girls did.
Final track on the original release, anyway, is So Long. I love this song. You write, quote, "So Long sounds like a freight train out of control." The first single from the album, yet it didn't do too well in the charts. Why was that, you think? It sounded too much like Waterloo?
That's right, yeah. They've released it because they were still working on the album when they released this as a sort of a taste of what was to come. And a lot of people sort of thought it just sounded too much like Waterloo, like you said, Eurovision stuff. So it didn't do too well, but it's a great rocker. I mean, later on it sort of regained its people liked it again when they got the album and sort of stuff. But I think it's one of the really great rocking tracks of ABBA. I mean, there's some, you'll see some video clips of them performing this, and the girls are really getting into it, like really dancing around to it. It's just a great track.
First time I ever heard it was just because of reading this book, listen to all the tracks.
Oh wow, that's good.
Yeah. The bonus tracks were on the 2012 deluxe edition of the album. Tell us about those.
Yes, there's two bonus tracks. One's called Crazy World, which was, they decided to let it go. And they did revisit it again on the next album, but again, they just put it aside. So that's included on this. That's one where Bjorn takes the lead vocal again. And then the other one is a medley that they did. It's sort of it's a medley of Pick a Bale of Cotton, On Top of Old Smoky, and Midnight Special. Very rare where ABBA done any covers. It's probably the only place where they've ever recorded covers, and it's just sort of a great way to sort of hear them playing, I suppose, their take on these covers. I mean, it's just a medley, but and it goes back to sort of I suppose back to Bjorn's days of when he was in the folk rock band Hootenanny Singers. So it's got that feel to it. But again, great bonus tracks on the album.
And then you get into the story behind the album's front and back, those photos. Tell us where these are taken. And one member had to sit on a stack of phone directories.
That's right. Yes, that's Bjorn. If you look at the front cover, they're inside this Rolls Royce, and Bjorn is just sitting there next to Agneta, and he actually had to sit, on top of in order to make himself look taller, because he's actually quite short. But the cover just represents. There's many views on this, but at the time when ABBA were making this album, they weren't big stars. They were still on their way to sort of trying to become commercially successful. So they didn't have much money. So this album was sort of a bit of a take on, the glamorous lifestyle that could be expected. But also at the same time in Sweden, there was a leftist movement called prog, as in PROGG, where anything that was considered commercial was considered the enemy. So they had to be a political sort of a movement. And ABBA were never into that. They were into that making great music for mass audience. So that was sort of like public enemy number one at that time. So they sort of their play on, what's wrong with being, successful and being in a limousine and living this high life. But they were nothing like that. I mean, at the time, again, they were on their road to doing that. But it's a great cover, really captures the glamorous look of the band. And at the back, again, they're in the hotel lobby, which I actually visited when I was researching my book in Stockholm.
Oh, yeah?
And it's still there, but it's
still
obviously changed a lot. But yeah, it's just a great image, really.
So some statistics here on the album and its success. It was released April 21st, 1975, though it was released in the UK 6 weeks later on June 7, and in the US almost 4 months later on August 28. It climbed all the way to number 1 in Australia, Sweden, and Norway, number 3 in New Zealand and the Netherlands, number 9 in Italy, number 13 in the UK, number 55 in Canada, and after having debuted on the US Billboard 200 albums chart at 189 on November 15th of 1975, it would only manage to reach number 174 in the US, which is kind of surprising, or maybe not.
It is surprising, yes, absolutely.
Because they became huge here in the second half of the decade.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, they went off. The thing about ABBA was during their whole lifespan, they didn't really do many tours. They only did a few tours, So, and when they came to America, they were doing like two-week promotional tours, and then I go back and keep working on the album, that sort of stuff. So, but yeah, look, I think it changed from when I did Dancing Queen the following year. That's when it all changed and sort of reignited the interest in the album. But yeah, it's surprising that it only went that far in the US, really.
And 50 years later, how do you view the album in terms of ABBA history and its place in music history?
I view it as one of the most important albums of their career. It set the stage for them to become the superstars of the 70s as they did, especially with the next album that really took them to the next level. It's the album that solidified the sound. It's the album that really represents ABBA as ABBA did become, their sound, the signature sound. So I think anybody who listens to that album can hear so much of ABBA's future, where they were heading, and it really solidified their sort of standing as real musicians.
The Booked on Rock podcast is part of the Boneless Podcasting Network. If you're a fan of classic rock and classic film like I am, go to boneless.lovable.app to find over 20 great shows there. That's boneless.lovable.app, or just go to bookedonrock.com, click on the logo. It'll take you right to the Boneless Podcasting Network. It is what you want it to be. Listen with confidence. The book is called The Making of ABBA, the story behind the band's 1975 breakthrough album. So it's out on January 13th, you said, in the US?
That's right. It came out in the Sweden, UK, end of last year, and it did so well it sold out of its first print run, which is absolutely fantastic. So the US, the Australia, and the rest of the world get the release on January the 13th.
So you could find it I guess anywhere books are sold, right?
Yeah, anywhere
Amazon.
books are sold in America, it's through Simon Schuster in America, but also on Amazon's the best place too. Just go to any Amazon place and you can find it wherever you are. But yeah, all bookstores. It's got massive distribution everywhere. So and all the reviews so far have been really really positive. And people have said the same thing as you've said to me. They've gone back to the album and listened to it and picked up things that they didn't notice before.
It's changed my view of the group.
Yeah, well, that's
I
good.
labeled them disco, and you listen to the album, you realize that this is not a pop disco group. It's more than that.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, it's like with any bands. I mean, later on, after Arrival, and they got so big, there was a bit of a backlash, especially in Australia. But that's part of, of any band's rise to the top, I suppose. But I mean, now, 50 years later, their stand is incredible. I mean, I think it was the other day I saw something where they've had the most increased Spotify streams of any artist, in the last year, I think.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised.
Yeah,
wouldn't be
so,
surprised.
They're
Yeah,
still remaining as popular as ever before. So I'm glad that the book's done what it's done for you, Eric, and hopefully it does the same thing for anybody else. And the book is not just aimed at ABBA fans, aimed at anybody who loves music, really, because even musicians, they can pick up things on that I've described a lot more in detail. Because it's hard to remember every single thing you wrote in the book without reading it, because I spent so much time on it. And but yeah, there's a lot of technical detail which I've explained in such easy layman terms that anybody with that musical knowledge can pick up.
yeah, it's great. It takes you inside the studio and you get into how the album is made. Your website, before I want to ask you about this new album that you just put together and put out recently, but what's your website? We can find more about you.
JoeMatera.com.
That's Matera, Joe Matera.
.com. Oh, they put me in Google and I come up first on Google, so it's pretty easy to find.
Now, so let's talk about this project that you did with the Corgis.
Yes,
And,
this one here.
Yeah,
yeah.
Coffee
It's
in
called-
New York.
That's right, yeah. So it's a collaboration album put out by an American label called Renaissance Records, who do a lot of great reissues. Like they've done Badfinger, they've done ELO, been around for like 30 years. Fantastic work they do. So we signed to Renaissance and put together this album. So what it is basically a bunch of Corgi songs plus all our collaborations we've done together, which I've co-written and played lead guitar on and sing on some of them. So there's 3 of those songs, that as well as 2 of my own songs that were only originally released as digital singles. And then there's 2 songs by Al Steele, who's the guitar player in Corgi. So, and there's a 2025 version of Everybody's Gonna Learn Sometime redone, which is absolutely brilliant on this album. So it's a great compilation album, and really, again, introduces the band to a whole new audience, and anybody who hasn't heard of the Corgis or my music or our music can rediscover.
Everybody's got to learn sometime. That would be the one that if there's anybody that's ever heard this band's music, it'd be that song. It did really well. It came out in 1980, became a global hit.
That's right. Yeah, in America, I think it went to, I can't remember now. I think it's
I'll look it up here.
Look it up.
Let's see.
I mean, in the UK, they had quite a few hits, but in the US, that's the one they're known for.
Oh, yeah, it was top 20, hit number 18.
Top 20. Right, okay,
Yeah.
on the Billboard chart. That's right, yes. So
How did you team up with the guys in the band? How did that all come together?
It's interesting story behind that. I interviewed James Warren, the main lead singer, bass player, songwriter of the band, who's been there since day one, right, the original member. Probably about 4 years ago now, 4 or 5 years ago, and just an interview like what you're doing with me, and we just got to chatting, and he asked me what, about my music, and I said, oh yeah, and I said, oh, you ever do any collaborations? He goes, oh, maybe sometimes, and I said, oh, I've got a few ideas. He goes, oh, yeah, send them along. Anyway, I sent some tracks along, and he really loved them. He goes, oh, we could work with this. Let's do something together. So we did our first collaboration, which was Always a Sunny Day, which is on this album, and so we co-wrote that together. I played the lead guitar on that and shared lead vocals. Did so well that we did another one and another one. And then I went off to the UK in 2024 and did a couple of shows with them, which was our first time playing live. So yeah, it's and we're continually doing stuff. So we got some new music coming again this year. But this album is a good one to sort of introduce the audience to us and check it out.
Yeah, it's great. I love it. You sent it to me, and thank you for that. And it's fantastic. So people can check that out. It's always great to have you on, Joe. This is, I think, was your third appearance on, and love to have you back on again down the road. I'm sure you got some plans ahead for another book, I hope.
Oh, definitely. I've actually, I've got a couple of ideas for some new books. I'll be definitely writing more because I've really enjoyed doing the ABBA stuff. And, it's like anything else. I sat there every day, listened to the music and, analysing it all. And it was just great fun, and even I picked stuff up that I missed myself. So it's great fun. So I'm definitely going to be doing another one.
Cool. And you still write for websites, magazines?
Yeah, I write for, my main outlet is Guitar Player Magazine and Guitar World. I write for those two outlets. And I also write for Record Collector. I write for Sound on Sound in the UK. I write for The Guardian newspaper online. So, I'm fairly busy with my writing. So, the music's, still do music, and that's just obviously, but the writing is my day job, really.
Outstanding. All right, Joe, thanks again. And all the best with the book and the album. And we look forward to having you back on again in the future.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having me, and thanks to all the listeners out there. And I really appreciate the support. I'm glad that you enjoyed the book and the CD. Thank you so much.
That's it. It's in the books.